Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we have this asteroid redirector here and we need to bring this in for a contract into an orbit around Kerbal. That should in theory be simple enough. Let's take a look at what we've got for our orbit right now. Let's set Kerbal as our target. Okay, our ascending node is right over here. That's really not too bad. At this ascending node, we can go ahead and burn anti-normal and bring this around to be, oh, that was a little too much. Somewhere around here. 238.5 meters per second is quite a number of meters per second, that's for sure. But let's go ahead and do that regardless, I think. Do we need it to actually get a capture here? Let's investigate that. So, if we were to, let's see, that's the closest encounter point here. If we were to go here and do some wacky radial burns, I mean, this would be way too much, obviously. I'm just wondering about timing. I think we're already pretty close to an encounter eventually, but it would be, we can do something like this in a few orbits. We need to check to see how many orbits. That's reasonably close. I mean, that's in 4 years. That is in 4 years. I would rather find a slightly better one. So I think what we're going to do is instead we are going to push out our apoapsis here. So we're going to bring our, we're going to set our inclination correct. We're going to go ahead and do this. That's going to be a little bit of delta V. That's really not too bad of a burn because that's almost entirely off of this engine rather than the ion engine. So that'll be fine. We'll align for that. Okay. And of course, we should be controlling from the grabbing unit, in theory. There we go. And let's get ready for that burn. That's going to be in a few days. So we'll just time warp on over there. Hello, sun. You are very bright, as usual. That's good. We don't want the sun to not be bright. That would be a problem. We're going to go ahead and burn right here. And are we thrust limited? No. Okay. So we're going to run out of this particular propellant very soon here. And our inclination change will finish up. Okay. And now we mash spacebar until our ion engine starts burning. And we will physics warp this, because this is going to be a pretty lengthy portion of the burn. Absolutely. And then we're going to need to, try to circularize this. I don't know. It's going to be a little awkward. I think that that's pretty clear. Okay. 20 meters per second to go here. I mean, we've got 2,000, so this isn't too bad. It is going to be a lengthy burn, though. No doubt about that. So, 1 meter per second here. We'll call that good. And at this point, I want to raise our apoapsis a little bit. What would circularizing actually look like? It's probably overkill to actually circularize this. Yeah, that's 600 meters per second. I don't think that's really needed. But what we can do is we can bring it in to be around here where we're encapsulating. That's like 150 meters per second. It's like a 4-minute burn. Okay. Something along the lines of that. Does it matter when we do this burn? Honestly, not really. We can do this burn much sooner. It doesn't really matter when we do it. So this is 100 meters per second, a 4-minute burn here. And let's go ahead and just warp to this quick. It's about 2 hours. Okay. So we're just going to push this out ever so slightly. And we'll try to find ourselves a more decent encounter. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Cool. We'll physics warp as we burn to try to make this go a wee bit faster. It is a 4-minute burn after all. But once we have this ready to go, then we're going to try to find ourselves an encounter. We don't really care about what encounter. An encounter is all we need right now. We can try to redirect it to a more favorable encounter a little later on. Like, I'd love to put this thing in, like, an equatorial low Kerbal orbit at, like, 80 kilometers or even 100 kilometers, but I think like 80 would be ideal. And then we can use that to start building our mining station around. So that would be amazing. I think that's really, really good, actually. So we're going to bring this on down to 0 meters per second, of course. We've got 20 meters per second to go. And we're just accelerating a wee bit here. 5 meters per second to go. We're going to come out of physics warp. And 1 meter per second to go. Good enough. Okay, with that in, let's see what things look like if we tried to do an encounter, say, over here. What would that end up looking like? That timing is off. So we need to do it more like over here. We've kind of missed our opportunity, I feel like. Okay, we could try to radial this, but that's getting into a lot of delta V if we do that. The next option, of course, would be to come to the periapsis and reduce our apoapsis down to a circularization. This would be another 600 meters per second, but this is meters per second, or 500, I guess. This is meters per second that we have to burn anyway, basically no matter what. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this, and we're going to head on over, and this will allow us to get a much better encounter with Kerbal, in theory, eventually. It's not hugely different from the Kerbal orbit, so we might have to do a few orbits here, but that's not the worst of concepts. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause the recording here because this is going to be both a long burn and a long warp. So I'm going to pause it here, and we will be back right after this burn is complete. See you in a bit. And here we are with this burn nearly completed. We've got about 30 seconds left on it. That is absolutely fine. 10 meters per second to go. Make that 5. And 3 meters per second. 2. 1 meter per second to go. And we'll call that good. Excellent. So now we need to try to find ourselves an intercept. This may take a while. As in, there may be a lot of time warp involved. We'll see. For the time being, we're just going to... yeah, as I expected. This may require a lot of time warp. Yikes. Mega yikes. That's in 9 years. Honestly, I find that a bit unacceptable. Okay, so what do we want to do about that? That is an excellent question. One thing we could do is dip in over this way to try to find ourselves a better intercept. It's just flickering around. That's not actually that close. That's a little unfortunate. I mean, this is not a great intercept. That's for sure. It's not great at all. And that's because we don't have the delta V to make that happen. It's a possible intercept. Sure. But it's not a good one. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to burn this down to be around here. And let's see if we can maybe make this work with a radial burn. Yeah, this is once again way too expensive. So we can do this fast or we can do this cheap. That's the only two options here. One other thing that we could do is continue to burn a little bit prograde. Just for a moment here. And just push our apoapsis out a little bit further. And the point behind doing this would be to... We're not going to burn this too far. But the point behind doing this would be to create a little bit more of a differential between us and Kerbal. I realize that I probably shouldn't have burned quite so circular previously, but what if we were then to do like something like this? How many orbits would that take? Still a lot, is the answer. So, I mean, this would net us an intercept here. in 9 years again. Only 117 meters per second. When do these contracts expire? We don't really have anything that would prevent us from warping 9 years, but I'm not sure when the contract actually expires. How long do we have to do this? And how long do we have to get the Class B asteroid? That's another question too, because we need that as well. We have both of those contracts. So we're going to hop into mission control here, and I just want to check these real quick. Yeah, nothing really there. Okay. In orbit of Minmus. Sure. Deadline is in 15 years. This deadline is in 4 years. So we have to do this much, much faster. Okay. So we are going to head back to the tracking station. We have 4 years in which to do this. We have 15 years in which to do the other one. So we're going to fly this particular thing. We may end up actually failing that contract. I don't know. This is an awkward orbit to go from. We could definitely continue to burn prograde here, though, and that's exactly what we're going to have to do. So we're going to burn prograde here for a bit, and we're going to push out ever so slightly. I don't want to go like all the way to the Duna orbit by any means. Maybe like 25% of the way to the Duna orbit. So like here or so. So we'll push that out, and we'll see if we can get a faster intercept this way. I definitely shouldn't have circularized it quite as much as I did. I didn't realize we were in this much of a time crunch, actually. I thought that we'd be able to get a pretty lengthy warp in, but we have to make this pretty quick. And you can see that we're pretty far from Kerbal right now. Okay. So with that out there, the question then becomes, what happens if we look for an encounter from here? Okay. How many orbits does it take? I mean, that's better, for sure. That is better, but that's still in 6 years. So we would be able to find ourselves an orbit up here that would get us what we need. Like, we'd be able to do a bit of a radial burn and, you know, something along the lines of that. But that's still too much. So we need to continue to burn prograde here. We've shaved 3 years off of this. We need to shave more. That is definitely a fact. I'd like to shave quite a lot more, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll bring this on up a little bit further. Honestly, I should have left this orbit in largely the way that it was, but this is okay. Live and learn. I'm not super experienced with moving these asteroids, but that's kind of the point of this playthrough, so we'll get there. Let's see what this is looking like now. So if we were to add a maneuver here and bring this retrograde rather than prograde. Okay. Obviously, we're going to have to wait some amount of time. That's going to be the case no matter what. But, oh, are we... Can I press the button, please? Thank you. So this is basically... This is more time than we can afford as is. So we're going to have to push this out even further. Okay. Well, this is exponential that this is raising at. So the speed at which this is raising. So in theory, this is getting more and more efficient. I'm going to burn this down to like 1120 and then we'll try again. And if we have to bring up another probe to get this... Well, actually, that doesn't necessarily work. But if we have to bring up another probe, we can. Okay, we'll stop it there. And let's see what this looks like for an intercept. This is just an awkward position for the asteroid to be in, I think. Okay, so... You can see us moving quite a lot more. This is still too much. Too much time. Come on, let me adjust this. Hit the button. There you go. Okay, so I wanted to pull this back another one. Okay. Hypothetically, what happens if we then come around over to this periapsis, where we are right now, and we bring this right on back? Like this. What does that timing look like? If I can actually press the button, that would be nice. Okay, there's the button. Yeah, that's tough. That's real tough. Okay, so instead, we push out the periapsis. But I think that we may actually end up failing this particular timer. I don't know. We'll see. This burn time is going to be 6 minutes. That's going to be in 246 days. Let's go ahead and warp on over there. And let's get this done as quick as we can, hopefully. So we're just going to need to create more differential between our time and our orbital period and Kerbin's orbital period. That's what we need to have happen here. There's definitely a more efficient way I could have done this. There's no doubt about that. The real question that I'm having right now is we're not connected. We have no data right now. So are we going to get data anytime soon? I feel like we're still getting a little bit further away. We're just out of range for the moment. Now, I believe on no data, we can still throttle up. And we can still aim with SAS. So that's okay. We can't create and edit maneuver nodes, but that's also reasonably fine. For now. Yeah, we can still position over here. And we can still throttle up. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to physics warp. And this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy burn, yet again. So that is absolutely fine. I mean, we've got ourselves this 3-ton asteroid. This is our third asteroid that we're capturing. This is definitely the most awkward one to get an intercept. And I think that's just because of the overall spawning position of the asteroid. And also the fact that, I mean, I'm kind of not playing this very well, if I'm honest. Like, I'm really kind of not. There's no doubt about that. But that's okay. I mean, if we end up losing this contract, it's not the end of the world. We'll grab the Class B asteroid, and from there we have a bunch of asteroids in orbit around... Well, we have one in orbit around Kerbin once we do this. There's one in orbit around the moon, and I think there's another in orbit around Kerbin right now. And then there will also be one around Minmus. So that'll be absolutely fine, and we can start constructing our mining platform, which will be perfect. We've got about another 2 minutes left in this burn, so that's really not too bad. On physics warp, that's like 30. And this will be fine. 40 meters per second to go here. And we're just trying to circularize this. Cool. Now, of course, we're not going to have any probe control for a bit, but that is absolutely fine. 20 meters per second to go. And let's come out of physics warp. 6 meters per second to go. Maybe shouldn't have come out of physics warp quite that quickly. Oh, that's time warp. Hang on. There we go. I meant to re-physics warp. Okay. We'll call that good. We can't delete the maneuver node because we're control locked. So this is fine for the time being. And of course, we're going to need to wait at this point until we can get some controls. So that's a little awkward for us. I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put a cut in here, and next episode, I know this is a little bit awkward, but next episode, I'll have a proper plan for getting us an encounter here. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including Casserole, Sigma162, JJ Gamer, Spartan News, Rose Valentine, Nick Smarty, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. And, yeah, this was a bit of an awkward episode. I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely not gonna lie about that one. But we will definitely have ourselves a nice encounter in the next episode, and we'll get that all cleaned up. And that'll be, in theory, great. It may or may not be a good situation in terms of the... In terms of the contract. That may or may not happen. We'll see. See you all next time.